Family. It's 8 o'clock. You know what that means. It's time to talk. Big shout out again to Incision, RST Automation, Turbot Surgical, everybody who's been a part of this journey and got us to where we're at. Again, I say thank you. I appreciate you all. If you haven't already, go to their LinkedIn pages, make sure you ask for that free demo, just so you can see for yourself what that innovation looks like, how the quality and efficiency of your departments can change just by simple modifications to things that you're already doing. Incision.care, RST Automation. Definitely go and check them out and tell them Time to Talk sent you. And on that note, as we continue down this road of quality, efficiency, and innovation, we kept thinking about what does that truly mean when it comes to departments and how it is affected by your everyday performances. So with this episode, what I wanted to focus on was, do we affect the outcomes of our quality, efficiency in the first stages of somebody coming on board? What do I mean by that? Can the training that somebody receives overall affect what happens during the course of their time in a department? Of course, that brings into call like the culture of a department, the onboarding, the training process, even that critical first 90 days. Is all of these things combined the catalyst for what happens during the tenure of somebody in a department? What does that training look like? Do you have dedicated preceptors? Is there an official training program? That's where we want to touch on today to see how staff training, can it cultivate excellence, a culture of excellence in a department? As I was putting this together, and I'm thinking back to the onboarding that I had, training programs that we had put in place, places that I visited recently in my travels with different hospitals, and I look at how everybody's doing something different, but we all expect the same result, right? I know there's no standardized education platform, except for Incision. Gonna talk about that later. But everybody's not following the same blueprint, but we expect the same result. You ask anybody, and I've been in rooms and I've got on stage and I've started to give a speech and I say, why do you do sterile processing? 90% of the people say patient care. So we are all headed toward the same end goal, but we're all taking different steps to get there. And is that okay? Yes, that's absolutely 100% fine if we are training to a standard. Don't get me wrong, training to a standard. What is that standard? We're going to talk about a little bit of that today. So what I did was, for this particular episode, I went out and found an educator because I wanted to know, bringing in new people, training existing people, and preparing for a future state. What does that look like? So I went back in my memory bank and I talked to people that facilities that I've worked at, and I've seen people grow from being a tech, moving up the ladder to now being an educator. And I thought of nobody better to have this conversation with than somebody who's actually progressed through those steps and is now in charge of those steps. So family, as we always do, can we please give a warm welcome to Miss Shamu Anthony.
Hi.
We see the round of applause and everything. Welcome, Shamu. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me.
A pleasure. It's it's always a good thing when you can see people that have grown through the process and now in charge of other people's process. So since I know that's what you do, can you explain to the people who have no idea who Shamu Anthony is, who is Shamu Anthony?
Well, I'm the sterile processing education coordinator at VCU Health. Like you said, I've worked my way up. I've been doing this for about 11 and a half years now. I started off as a sterile processing tech, worked my way up to a senior tech, then a tech specialist. I was our Da Vinci tech specialist for VCU for about 2.5 years, and then I worked my way into a position came open for education. Um, and yeah, so I'm here now. I've been the educator
Welcome.
for about 4 years.
Thank you, and welcome for being here and willing to share your, insight into what we're talking about, staff training. So the first thing, let me ask you the same question I've asked everybody previous to you being on this season. When we talk quality, what does quality mean to you?
Okay. Quality means a standard, getting the same product the best way I can every time. It just means doing best practices to get the same result every single time.
Okay, we're going to put a pin in that. You said best practices. We're going to put a pin in. I'm going to come back to that. So next keyword is efficiency. What does efficiency mean to you in terms of what we're doing?
Efficiency allows us to do our job the best we can. If we do best practices, we have good quality control, good quality product, then the efficiency comes. It builds our speed, and it allows us to give a great product for the patient.
I want to say this, and I'm saying it now because you have a audience growing. I seen Early Ty, I seen Tracy in there, I seen Carol Malone in there, I seen Bill in there. The families out here and they are interested in this. Alania, I hope I said that right. Varner's here. You got rounds of applause everywhere. Everybody's here because this is that burning topic. This is that topic that will hopefully by the end of this we can say the make or break of what happens in a sterile processing, because the most important part is how you bring somebody in, the experience that they see, and what they're going forward teaching others in their actions. Right? Would you agree? I'm just saying, would you agree?
Yes.
So with that being said, as an educator, I'm gonna get right to it. What is a brand new person who applies to you? What does that process look like?
Okay. Great question. So brand new, you're going to go through about 8 to 10 weeks worth of training.
Okay.
You're going to start, your training plan will start you in decontam.
Whoa. I'm put a pause on that because I got a question about that, because this was a hot topic about last week. And decon. Why decon first?
I feel that being in decon, you learn how to take things apart, how to clean them properly. If you don't know how to take things apart and clean them properly, how are you going to know how to properly inspect them? How on the clean side will you know that something came apart to make sure that it was cleaned properly in decontam before it goes through the sterilization process?
Okay, I mean, I just want to ask. I know my team, my family is going to say something about it, so I just want to go ahead and put it out there. Okay. So you say start in decon because you feel like in decon they get to see what comes apart, how to clean it, so that on the clean side they can recognize that something's not apart, and so on and so forth. Okay,
correct.
Okay, so they start a program in decon. I got it. I'm just devil's advocate. Okay,
that's fine. Yeah, so you'll be in decontam for approximately 2.5 to 3 weeks. Then you move over to the clean side. Okay. Depending on how new you are, if you're so new that you're not really familiar with your instrument, then you'll have 3 weeks on instrumentation, paired up with the preceptors so that you can get familiar with the sets and how we put them together at VCU. If you have instrumentation knowledge, then we give you about 2 weeks worth of instruments before you'll move on to a week of low temp. You're going to do a week of steam sterilization. And then you'll end up doing 2 weeks in our distribution area so that you learn how to build cases, answer phones, that part of it.
Okay. I just want to point out you got our president-elect, Arlene, is here. My good friend and mentor, Harry Mullen, is here. The whole family's here for this. This is like we're here. Rebecca's here. Like, we're all here for this. All right. So if I hear you correctly, 8 to 10 weeks potential training, start in decon, and then move through the process.
Correct.
Okay. I'm okay with that. I mean, the family says, okay, we're okay with that. For this new person, is it the same preceptor through the whole training process, or does it switch off per area that they go to?
It switches off per area and
Why?
during the time. One, precepting somebody for that long period of time can be very stressful or a bit much on the actual preceptor themselves. Having to slow their process down, take the time to instruct a person, teach a person, that's a bit on a person sometimes if you're doing it for that long period of a time. So we like to break it up and have different preceptors in different areas.
Okay.
And that way it gives you a chance to see, you can come to the same end result, but some people do it a little different sometimes.
Now, in that, and I'm gonna get into the actual meat of everything in a minute, but in that, does that impact a person's experience being trained by different people, different techniques of training? Because what if I precept one way and then the next preceptor after me is more lax or more stringent, depending on the situation? Wouldn't that affect the way that person's learning if it's different people that they're listening to in the process?
It can. I've heard feedback different ways. Some people like the fact of being with different people. Other people request, hey, can I be with this person when I go to Prep and Pack? Because they were really, they broke everything down really good for me in Decontam. So it goes both ways. If we have the staff to be able to facilitate the same person, and I speak with the preceptor and they're okay with it, I do want to make sure that they're okay with it, then we have kept the same person precepting the whole time.
Okay. Harry said he's agree. He likes your thought process. So you're halfway there. Harry says he likes the way you're thinking about that. So that's me. I'm just being devil's advocate. If y'all have questions and comments, please put them in, because I want to make sure that Shamu gets the best experience here. Y'all know how the family can be. We have tough questions, so we want to make sure. But okay, given your training program, right, the way that you do it, if you think about it in the terms of the overall structure of it, how can a well-structured onboarding and training program instill a mindset of continuous improvement and excellence in a new employee? Because you're switching preceptors, right? You're switching people. So yes. From a mindset of a new person, how does that instill that excellence if everybody's doing something different?
Well, during the course of their training, I actually check in weekly with them. I have one-on-ones. And I let them know this is a free space. We go into my office so that they don't feel like I wanted them to be able to understand that they can talk to me. Let me know what's working for you, what's not, because we want you to stay. We want you to learn. We want you to grow. So if the training with multiple people isn't working and you feel better with one person, then we can, make changes.
So it's not in stone.
I think the continuous checking in with a new employee helps build that relationship as well.
So it's not in stone per se. If something isn't working, you do have the flexibility to change it as on an individual basis based on your check-ins.
Yes.
Okay. Harry says that all staff members need to take part in being a preceptor. Getting different preceptors help to gain different perspectives. How do you feel about all staff members being a preceptor at some point?
I feel that all staff should be trained to be preceptors. Not all staff would make a good preceptor. A lot of times people don't have the patience to break, or they can do the job excellent. They have great quality, they have great skills, but they can't break it down to the baby steps that a new tech would need to understand.
Tracy agrees with you.
Multiple times when I've precepted people, they ask a lot of questions, and some people don't know how to answer those questions. And a lot of times new techs just want to know how or the why. They don't want you to just tell them, just because they want to know the why behind it. And I like to tell the why a lot, because I feel if you fully understand that at the end of the day, this could be you on the table, so taking shortcuts isn't the way to go, then some people understand it better.
I tend to agree with you. I know that there are a lot of people. I'm going to read the comment in a minute. I know that there are a lot of people that actually know how to do their job very well. However, when it comes to explaining what they do, not everybody's articulate enough to say, well, this is what I do first, and this is they can show you all day. So
Exactly.
putting somebody with somebody like that, probably not the best of ideas. However, it is a thing. So we have a bunch of comments here. So let me get with Rebecca's first. As someone who's working on a preceptor program right now, I definitely want to make sure that they're all on the same page with the same expectations. I think that is a very, very good part of it, is that if all your preceptors are not headed in the same direction, then that's when I think the chaos has room to grow.
Yes.
And we're talking about building a culture or changing a culture. So if you have a disgruntled person that you make and force to be a preceptor, you can already know that that's going to be a bad thing. So Rebecca, I got another one, but I saw one from Carol too. Rebecca says, make sure the preceptors are all trained in the same way as far as the concepts and the why. Back to what you were saying. Harry said, true. Carol said, I had a similar process and weekly check-ins with me, as well as checklists for our preceptors to follow is the key to providing consistent onboarding. The checklist. Again, if you,
that's true. We do actually have a checklist. Our checklist is 7 pages long.
Oh, wow.
It breaks down, our checklist actually is 7 pages. It breaks down every area that they're in. It breaks down different topics that they should been, the preceptor should have gone over with the trainer. With their new tech. There's also a place on there for the preceptor to sign saying, yes, we went over these topics. And then there's also a place for the new tech to sign saying, yes, this was shown to me.
I got a comment here from Miss Erlene Ty that says, you have to have patience to train or teach. And that is something that a lot of people do not have. to be blunt and honest, that's why you do have to be careful with who you're putting people with and who you're deciding to make a preceptor. It is a very important step that I think a lot of people take for granted, because a lot of people want the extra pay to be a preceptor and not actually be a preceptor. So it is a thing. It's definitely a thing. And Harry says, developing strong preceptors in sterile process, essential sterile service departments is essential for training new employees and maintaining high standards in sterilization and infection control. He does have some suggestions. Harry, I would be, as always, I would be happy to hear any suggestions. So if you want to send them to me in LinkedIn, email me or call me, one of the two, we can definitely talk about it. Or if you want to share them here, because people may have questions, or any ideas that you put out, somebody may be able to take it back and try to implement it to themselves or incorporate it in what they're already doing. On that note, Shamu, you mentioned it was so much going on here. Everybody's everywhere. Sharon says, what actually defines a culture of excellence? Remember, we're talking about staff training, cultivating a culture of excellence. How do you look at that?
I would have to say that if your preceptors are on board, everyone is on the same page, then they are teaching and precepting your new staff to the culture of the hospital that you're at. And then that continuously allows them to want to stay, want to grow with the facility. And I think at that, when you have techs that have a buy-in, then it makes them want to do their job to the best of their ability, because at the end of the day, it's the patient. I think that cultivates, I think those different steps, along with education, training, I think all of that makes or develops a tech into cultivating that level of excellence. I think if they're on the same, if you have your preceptors training your new staff to that certain level of standard, then you're bringing them to the level that you want them to be at your hospital. And then the excellence comes along with it.
Okay. I'm gonna give you this question and let you stew on it for a minute because we're gonna go to commercial. But the question is, when you're preparing your onboarding, your training, how much of the hospital's mission goes into that? Because that is where our culture of excellence comes from, correct? So when you're putting this together and you're thinking about the facility, the departments, and you're tying it all together, how much do we actually teach to the mission of the hospital? We're going to think about that. And when we come back from this commercial, we're going to talk about it.
SPD, unfortunately, is often a very underappreciated and underrepresented part of the perioperative team.
So what we understood is that not only is it super important for the sterile processing technician to understand what's happening in the OR and how what they do impacts patient safety, but also that the perioperative team understand what is happening in the sterile processing department.
If you've lived in either one of those places, you know how it feels when something goes wrong. The relationship between the OR and the SPD can sometimes be really difficult. But with this program, we want to help build a bridge between the two departments. We're all working together towards the same goal of surgical patient safety, and we're so much stronger when we work together.
Family, welcome back. Again, if you saw that commercial there, what you were seeing were some of the stills and some of the videos from the Incision program. That program itself breaks down the 6 major areas that we cover in sterile processing over 21 modules, so that you actually get an in-depth, very comprehensive training program. Definitely, if you don't have something established or you're looking at establishing something, reach out to them again at incision.care and just request the demo. Just request a free demo so that you can see for yourself how things like that can be incorporated into what you're already doing. One of the things I heard in there was seeing that how SPD and the OR should be working on the same page toward the same thing. That's something we're going to touch on in a minute, because everywhere I go, everybody says the same thing. We're trying to, repair the relationship between SPD and the OR. That's been fractured for a very long time. And, so what some people have done is start incorporating, sending SPD techs up to the OR to watch cases. Some people have nurses coming down, techs coming down to work in SPD, just so that we can all see what each other's doing and how we can each help each other get to that next level. So Shamu, right before the break there, we were talking about, the culture of excellence, and you broke it down exactly. Like, everybody needs to be working toward the same goal. Everybody needs to be on the same page. But what I'm asking now is, if the culture of excellence starts at the top, which is our hospital's mission, do we look at that when we're creating what we're creating at SPD as far as standards and policies go? Do we actually think about what the mission statements are and incorporate those into our trainings?
We should.
honest answer. I like it.
We should.
We should be thinking about it.
Whether every facility does or doesn't, but we should.
Because it should be aligned, right? The mission of the hospital should be aligned with the goals of what we're trying to do in our departments. Should.
Exactly.
So how do we get back to that? Because if we're hiring for a certain person or we're trying to get to a certain thing, how do we incorporate those things to create that culture of excellence? And I know people in the group chats and everything are going to say, the culture is what it is. And I hear this all the time. That's just who that is. That's just how that person is. But that's a culture that we've accepted. So how do we get to where we need to be through our training?
That's a tough one. Culture is very special in SPD in sterile processing.
Right.
You come in, I mean, just dealing with what I've seen and the few different hospitals that I've worked in, you come in and there are people that are set in their ways. They don't want to accept change or anything. During my time, like I said, I'm all about the why. That's just how my brain works. So when I'm trying to implement something new, or we're trying to make changes in the environment or the department or the culture, I like to tell the why a lot, to give them the whole reason.
I have to give you this one. They say, how do we do that? Prayer and fasting. Look, you got to do whatever works to get to that point, right? I do understand. But yes, I've been a part of those systems where, yes, you walk in and some cultures are very toxic, but it's not everybody. So the people that you know that are doing the right thing, you kind of lean on them more because you don't want to pair this person with that person because we already know the negativity. Or as a new manager coming in, you know about the negativity and not the good things the department are doing, because it's just how the culture is of somewhere. So we can, if we're combating that at the beginning, we're going to get there. Shamu, since you're our special guest today and I have a bunch of people here, what is the key word you want them to spam in the comments for our drawing today? You give me a keyword. What do you want? Okay, there we go. Family, put education. If you're here in the chat and you're listening to Shamu tell us these great nuggets that she's given us, definitely put education in your comment so we can put you in the drawing for today's gift card. For today's gift card, the keyword is education. Erling said, yes, it is. Ladies are opinionated. Oh, I didn't say it. She did. Ladies are opinionated and said, yes, prayer will help. Prayer does help. The Three Bears said education helps. See, the educations are rolling in. So besides prayer and fasting, how else can we get to a point of understanding between the new people to not let them go down the wrong path immediately? And I get that we have the checklist. Let me back up. When you say a checklist and yours is 7 pages long, how does that differ from the competency? Because if we're going to try to check for competency, we're checking off certain things. You have a checklist to make sure that we're teaching certain things. Are they the same, or is one different than the other, and then why?
They're different. So the way we do it in my program is you have your checklist it's your orientation checklist.
Okay.
Where your preceptors, and like I said, your preceptors teach you or show you different things in the different areas to cover the basics. At the end of your orientation, we sit down. Once you've turned in your paperwork, we sit down and we go over this checklist together. And at that same time, we go over your first set of competencies. That way we get a baseline. This is not the first set of competencies aren't holding you to anything. This is to see where you are. We need to know where you are to grow you from there.
Okay.
So if we go ahead and give you your competencies so that we have a baseline to see what we need to work on past your orientation into continuing senior training.
Okay. With that being said, just with that piece alone, the initial checklist, that is the standard by which we're holding them to. Yes? No?
The initial checklist is making sure that they are learning the different parts of the area.
Okay. So that's the breakdown of this is here, that's there.
Yes.
We're looking. Okay. So that's the part I was trying to figure out. So like from a checklist perspective, it's not comprehensive. It's just saying you learn this area, you learn that area.
Correct.
Okay. So
it's
that's what I did.
Somebody went over how to run the tests on the machines in decontam.
I think that's the piece I was missing. But yeah, okay. So the checklist itself incorporates everything you want them to learn. And that were they shown these things?
Yes.
The competency says you were shown how to do this in decon. Now show me how you do it.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So I just want to make sure everybody understands that there are two different things happening with these checklists, because if we're trying to instill a culture, then we have to do it from the beginning. So in the beginning, where you've shown every single thing as to standard, the competency says, okay, you were shown. Now, do you know how to do these things to the standard? Okay, I just want to make sure I was right. I saw two comments here. The first one, okay, here we go. How does that impact turnover time? Is it a time cost on the front end for sustained quality post-training? Now we're talking the checklist itself. How does that impact your turnover time if you're trying to go through a comprehensive 7-page checklist to make sure that every part has been touched? And Carol, I'll get to your comment in just a second. I saw it.
Well, that's part of the reason why their orientation is 8 to 10 weeks.
Okay.
So that all of that isn't being done in one day. It also, yes, it does take time in the beginning to go over all those things. But if you take that time then to show them properly, then you're going to get a quality product later on down the line when they're doing it by themselves. Okay. If you don't take the time to show a tech or break down all the nuances of SPD and sterile processing to a new tech, explain them why we do this, not just how we do it. When they're doing it by themselves, are they going to then take those shortcuts? Or they're going to remember what you're showing them and how you showed them and why you're telling them this is how we do it. And then you'll get that quality product in the end. Okay.
Just to get Carol comments in here. She said, and these are definitely her two favorite words. We're getting her a t-shirt with these made on it, by the way. You'll see her at conference with it on. Organization, so that everyone learns the same thing, and consistency with the process so everyone gets the same education. Organization and consistency. And to Sharon's point, if you're taking the time and training and showing all these things for every part, then that turnover time should be fluent because we have a process in place. Even if you're training somebody, the process doesn't change, is what we're trying to get at. So that turnover time, if you have a busy day in the OR and somebody's back there training, does it affect anything?
It will, but they won't be alone. That's when you'll put another tech. So if you're in decontam and someone is precepting, and you're going to have another tech in decon to help with that backflow. Okay. It's not going to just be, it's now backed up because someone's taking the time to show someone how to take a cysto set apart to make sure all the intricate parts are being cleaned. No, you're going to have another tech back there so that the preceptor can take the time with that tech and show them everything and not show them any shortcuts and not feel pressured to get the workflow through.
So there is a contingency plan. So that's where we're okay.
Yes.
Carol says new hires should not be included in staffing. Okay. Love that you're not rushing orientation, as we are often pushed to onboard quickly and to set them loose, which produces inferior techs. Oh, okay.
I agree.
Okay. I like that. I did see another one there. I'll see if it comes back around for me. Okay. Tracy says, absolutely. If you put the effort in early, it should become second nature when you're out on the floor. And Elena says the why is so important. And I think that's a lot of the part that we lack across the board is the why, because you're right. And I think what Carl said and what you're saying is important to the fact that we are rushed to get techs out on the floor. We are rushed to get them through the training because we're short staffed. We are rushed to get a body versus a competent tech. And we're seeing the results of that in a lot of places. And that's just, my opinion, just letting everybody know those are my opinions. But we are seeing that the rushing has become a thing. And that's what we're trying to combat. If we're trying to commit to a culture of excellence, then what steps can we take to avoid these type of things? And one of the steps, like you said, is you broke down the checklist. It's not a rush scenario. You have 8 to 10 weeks. And on that note, if they need longer, do you extend the orientation?
That's the point of the weekly check-ins. If I've talked to a tech, and I've had a tech come to me and go, I understood STEAM, but I need a little bit more time. Could you pair me back up with so-and-so? I like the way they explain this or that to me. Yes, we'll give you more time. It's not, I don't like to be set in stone. I like to have a structure. And then if we need to veer off of that a little bit, then we do it.
Okay. You have a comment here that says, if there's not time to train properly now, why do we think there will be time to train properly then? If you can't do it now, what makes you think we're going to do it later? I mean, that's just the reality of it is.
It doesn't.
Okay.
I mean, what ends up happening is if you don't train them properly to begin with, then so in our facility, we use quality feedbacks with our tracking system. Okay. That's how the OR or our staff can say that they found something, a mistake. Okay. We prefer or hope that the bulk of the quality feedbacks that our staff get come internally from other staff catching it before it makes it all the way up. But if it comes from the OR, then you have to pull somebody aside. What you don't want is a new tech getting a lot of quality feedback because they were rushed through their training. They didn't know something. You didn't take the time to show them. Because that fear or that, I don't want to say, that feeling of failure sets in, and then some people, you lose them. Okay. And you kind of, a wall sometimes gets built up, and sometimes then they become resistant to learning or the re-education that comes around.
Erling says, train right the first time, you won't have to retrain. Because that's where I think you were headed with that is, are these forums, they're not punitive, they're informative. Correct. So it brings it to somebody's attention that this happened. Okay. Alania says, you have to take the time to train to produce quality text. It's too important. Again, it goes back to what are you trying to do for your departments? Time to Talk says, set them up for success at the beginning. Patient safety, culture, and retention are directly influenced by poor training. Again, I think that's one of the things where somebody told me when they were setting up their program, we put them out in decon first. And this is why I say I'm neutral. They said they put them in decon first because that's the hardest area. If somebody can't hack decon from the beginning, then you haven't wasted a whole bunch of time training somebody for them to leave. And that's just the reality of it. You put them somewhere else, they think it's easy. Oh, I got this until they hit decon. And they're like, oh no, I didn't sign up for this. And I've seen it. So
with that, so we actually at VCU have an education and a training plan where we bring techs or people off the street that want to become techs and take them through a training program. Okay. As part of the application process for this program, you actually have to come in and do a 3-hour observation in the department. Okay. I pair you up with a tech in decontam for an hour, put you in PPE, and you just observe, put you in prep and pack, and let you be with a tech, whether their person's on steam, putting stuff away and letting you be able to lift stuff and kind of just observe and see. I also let you ask all the questions you want to ask from real techs. Okay. That allows us to see, or people to see, if SPD is really what they want before they get into it. So a lot of times people have a misconception of what SPD is, and they don't know, they think we do something completely different. They don't understand what it is. So having them in decon in PPE for an hour, if they can't handle it, you can't do 8 hours.
So this is, I mean, as you're saying, this is somebody off the street that wants to work in SPD. Yes. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm gonna touch on that. Let me see what Harry said. Harry says, correct. Train and quality check the work until they're ready to be set free. Never let a new person get the feedback from the OR before they are ready. And Harry, I absolutely agree, because that is the worst case scenario, that we didn't do a good job of training somebody. They get their first quality check, and then the first thing they said is, I didn't know that. Or they start getting a bunch of them, like Shamu said. You start getting a bunch of quality check papers, and it's all because we failed them at some point in their training. So yeah, that is definitely, I like the direction of the training program. I got to touch on that first part again though, but we're going to do that after commercial because I'm curious now. So right after this commercial, we'll get back to Shamu Anthony, everybody. Hey, everybody, I know you saw that one. RST Automation. If you haven't seen it in person or you haven't seen the demo, definitely reach out to them. When we're talking efficiency, we're talking training, the tools and the innovation of projects that they have can actually help you with a lot of that as we talk about training and not letting people on the floor till they're ready. They have products that can actually help you with that. So again, reach out to them, request that demo, and please let them know that Time to Talk sent you over there because, you want to see these new innovative things coming out. You want to see what's next for our industry. Shamu, you said something there and it got my mind racing real quick. So I want to apply to your facility. I don't work there yet. I haven't even been interviewed yet. And you're asking me to come in and stay a couple of hours, go to decon, go to prep and pack, watch the sterilizer, do all these things, and see if I want to work there.
No.
Okay, all right. I was confused real quick. Hold on, wait a minute.
That is only for the students that want to apply to the school that we have.
Okay, so this is
that's part of their application process, not just a regular tech that wants to apply. No.
Okay. So when you get students that, are going through a sterile processing program, or they want to go through your in-house program?
They want to go through our in-house program.
Okay, two separate things. Okay, I was confused. I was like, wait a minute.
No, so yeah,
come and spend time somewhere and do all this stuff, and you ain't interviewed
these
me
are
yet?
for the students that want to come in and be a part of our in-house program. This, because you have people all the time that, like I said, they saw a video on YouTube and they're not really sure what SPD is about, or they see our doors open and close as they're walking by and they're like, ooh, what are they doing there? Right. So you get a lot of people from the hospital that are like, oh, I want to transfer to your department. And we're like, okay, that's fine. Okay.
You're right. I mean, you want to come, right?
Yeah.
Until you get there.
Some people don't stay, but we have an entry-level position at our hospital so that people can transfer in that are not techs, and they can be what's called an assistant.
Okay.
And a lot of our assistants have transitioned up to becoming techs. And
so it's a way to get them around what's happening so they can see it firsthand and then decide if they want to move into that role.
Correct.
Okay.
You have some people that come in as assistants and they want to stay an assistant. They like that role. They like, what they do. And then you have others that are like, I like this, but I see what the techs are doing. I want to do that.
Okay. I can see that. Carl says having them shadow is a great idea, as a lot of people think we don't work hard, just walk around and talk all day. Carol, I would absolutely positively agree with that statement because nobody really knows what happens in sterile processing. There's a lot of speculation about what might happen, but some of it's not even correct. So people really don't understand what happens over there. So, okay, we got all this stuff. We got a lot of training, a lot of good information there, but I want to ask you about something. How important is continuous education? We always talk about CEUs and we talk about chapter meetings, we talk about conferences, we talk about all these things. How important is that part of this process? If we're trying to build our culture of excellence and we want certified people, we want these things, and people are like, I don't got time to do CEUs. What I mean, what are you talking about? I'm not paying for that. Like, what are you doing? What do you do in those scenarios?
I'm a strong believer and advocate for continuing education.
Okay.
Whether that's CEs, whether that's, I'm a strong, like for our chapter meetings, I'm always like, hey, y'all need to come out, like letting new techs know, hey, you should network with other techs in the environment and learn what your profession is really about. I think there are, as the educator, I don't feel that it's always my job to be the person to deliver that continuing education to the department. I try to reach out to have reps come in because I feel, it's like you can say something all day long as a parent to your child, but then they'll go to school and the teacher will say it, and all of a sudden they say the same thing you said. And that's, let me tell you what I heard, Mom. So it's like that. I think a lot of times you get, especially for new techs, it's an awesome buy-in for them to hear right then and there from a rep.
Okay.
To show them, let them touch an instrument or a set, open it up, show them all the intricate pieces, show them a video of that being used in surgery. I know when I was new, I really liked it when the reps came in and we didn't always have to hear from our educator. So I offer that same thing. Just changes it up and lets them see education from different points of view.
Yeah, I just saw what Sharon said, like CEs matter in every industry. It's not just us. There's some continuing education in every aspect of whatever we do. People don't realize it till you talk to the nurses and they have to get stuff from their agencies. And, everybody has to keep their Cs and their competencies and everything on par to keep their certifications. And that's the main thing I'm talking about, not letting your certification lapse. Right? You need the CEs more for just you want us to sit through something. You need the CEs. So do you offer in-house CEs, or is it you going through just the different people? I know that there's different people, like Steris has some. I know that there's Crazy for Cleaners out there. I know Medline. Everybody's offering CEUs. Do you put it in a special place where people can go find these, or are people just doing it on their own?
A little bit of both. So we have at least monthly in-services in our department where I can provide an in-house CE. I have posted up in our locker rooms and the break room a list of QR codes where they can just use their phone while they're on break and scan to a link for a free one through some of the links that you just named, Crazy for Clean, Steris University, a bunch of those other ones like that. I have a whole list laminated.
You hear that, people? They put the QR codes in the locker rooms and in the department, everywhere that the techs have to go or be engaged. There's ways for them to do things without it being difficult. A QR code is a very simple thing. They scan it. The information comes to them directly. That is one of those things that everybody can do and be involved in. Oh, Sharon Green Golden is here. Welcome, Sharon. She says training in the beginning is great. Our professionals have to want to be in the arena. Nice. Knowledge is power, and our field requires knowledge. Your rep has to be qualified and knowledgeable of their product. That is very important. You can't have a rep up here trying to give a CEU class and don't know what they're talking about. Right? It's not going to go the way that you expect it to go if they don't know their product, and they have to be qualified to talk about that product. I have been a part of some of those where this rep just up there talking and, hey, just sign the sign-in sheet and you get the CEU, and nobody walks away from the in-service knowing anything different than what they knew before you got there.
I typically like to meet with whatever rep that I have come in to do an in-service. I like to have a conversation with them to see what they're going to talk about. I like to make sure that, one, I need to see your IFUs before you come in.
Okay.
I review the IFUs and I ask them to make sure that we're going over certain talking points, especially if it's something that we're doing a trial on or it's something that it's new to the staff altogether. And sometimes even if it's a tray we've already had in-house, I'm like, can I get an updated IFU on that just so we can make sure we're speaking to the right parameters for sterilization for packaging.
So even breaking it down to having them be held accountable to what they're teaching, and you're double checking, verifying that by going over to IU prior to them actually saying something. Because I've been a part of one of those too. The rep will say something and you're like, wait, I know that's not right. Hold on, wait a minute. Like, why are you saying that?
I've actually stopped a rep in the middle and I'm like, according to the IFU, let's go ahead and we're going to make sure we put into our tracking system that the sterilization should be these parameters. And they looked at me and I'm like, I'm looking at your IFU right here. They were
because
like, okay. Oh, they were like, oh, that must be an update.
I saw a bunch of different things there. Carl said Beyond Clean has a bunch of great CEUs. They're fun to listen to, so make sure you go there. Arlene said, hey, a bunch of different views is always good. Sharon says you need the CEU to stay current and fresh mentally or you become stagnant. Absolutely, absolutely correct. She says, I've always received the basic class from my rep before he touched my team. Same thing that you were saying. You go through and listen to what he's going to be talking about before he says the wrong thing to his team. I think that's a very important piece that I think, something that can be incorporated into other programs because that is important, knowing what people are saying. And when I say that, let me say this to our educators. Let me say this to everybody listening, whether you're a tech or somebody in leadership. I know a lot of people go out here and we go onto the TikToks and the YouTubes and all these things and we're looking at information. It is important to know where this information is coming from. I understand that people want to go viral. I honestly understand it. But please double check some of the sources of this information that y'all are getting. And this is a perfect example of that. If a rep can get up in front of you, not know their product and give you the wrong information and they're the rep for that product, what do you think some of these people on these social medias are doing? Just being honest. I've seen people try to give in services from Decon and you got full phone and camera and everything in Decon and you're like, how is this even possible if you're following the standards? But I digress. But I'm just saying, just make sure that you're double checking the double check when you're double checking. Like, that's all I can tell you. Sharon said, has anyone ever experienced a rep training for shortcuts? I already know where that's going to go, so I'm waiting on that one. See, Rebecca already said it. I have. They speak on the low about it, causes confusion in the workplace and distrust because there are reps that will tell you, you don't have to really do that. A perfect example, and I give y'all that, one of my facilities, the stopcocks, they definitely come apart. It's in the IFU that they need to come apart. But the rep was telling people he's never seen anybody at any hospital do it, so it's okay if you don't. So take it for what it's worth. But those conversations, as Rebecca says, those conversations do happen. Are we policing those things? Because again, that's where the culture of excellence comes in at, is that if we're not going toward the standard, we're not here to do shortcuts. We're not here to teach the new people shortcuts. So we have to know what our preceptors are saying. Again, I like the 7-page checklist. Like, you're covering all the bases. You have to know what your preceptors are teaching your people, and you have to know what they're getting out of it. Back to the competency checklist, doing a follow-up to say that you learn what you've learned. So one of those, I think that is important to every aspect of that, and I appreciate that part of what you said there. Everybody, I just want to take the time out. Make sure we're going to be getting here any second. Shamu's going to do the drawing for this week's winner. Make sure you have put education in the comments so we can make sure your name is in the drawing for the gift card. As you know, the rules state, if your name is drawn next week, I should see you in the comments saying, I am here, and you get your gift card. So make sure that you spam education in your comments so we can put you in the drawing. Be here next week. Say, hey, I'm the winner from last week. I'm here, and you get your gift card. Make sure that we're doing that. More comments are coming in. I like this, Shamu. You got them engaged. Everybody's here. Sharon says, protect the new person's energy and partner them with those that consistently attempt to cultivate excellence and high performance. Again, that goes back to what we said originally. And I know Harry said it and you said it. People have said it. Everybody's not a preceptor. Everybody should know how to precept, but everybody's not a preceptor. So make sure you're not setting them up for failure. Make sure you're not setting them up for failure by putting them with negative Nancy, knowing that she's going to spoil them from the beginning. So we got to protect them in every way possible. Sharon said, that's why you're responsible for vetting your reps. Absolutely. You should know what they are. You should know what they are doing. You should know what they're saying to your text. And yes, as Sharon said, catching that shortcut conversation. There's never a reason to shortcut. The trays, everything still has to go through all of the same processes, and the processes should be followed. Shamu, it's almost that time. So I'm going to say this the way I say it to everybody. For your educators out here, for people who are willing to train and be preceptors, for the leaders in the room and the regular techs, as it pertains to training, what advice can you give them going forward?
We have best practices for a reason.
Okay.
Follow them, because at the end of the day, that could be you on the table. Shortcuts are never the right way to go. It's not saving time in the long run.
You have it. It's very short and sweet. If you have your best practices in place, you have the standards in place, they're there for a reason. That is what you're training to. You're training to the standards. You're training to what the best practice is. And there should not be a reason that we say we don't. Like, there should never be a reason that we say we don't. I know a lot of people are still dealing with the short staff. I get it. Everybody's dealing with short staff. Everybody's having a hard time filling FTEs. But at the same time, does that change what we're doing in the department? Does the process change because you don't have enough people? Do we change the process? That's a real question. Do we change the process because we don't have enough people? If it snowed, had a snow day and everybody called out, because I'm there, am I going to not do the process? Like, so stuff still has to go through decon the same way. Stuff still has to be put together the right way. Stuff still has to be on the right sterilization parameters. Still has to cool. Still has to do all those same things. The process doesn't change. So our culture of excellence comes from direct our training and what we're teaching others to do in the process. So with that being said, I'm happy to announce that I'm actually finished my second book. It is tentatively going to be out in 2 weeks. Pre-orders will be on sale here very, 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 very shortly. Pre-orders will be coming out. The book itself, Learn to Listen So People Are Willing to Talk. It's about intentional conversation. Do you know the difference between listening to an employee and hearing an employee? Do you listen for understanding, or are you just like, get out of my office? Like, so we're going to be talking about a lot of that stuff. We're going to definitely get touch on a lot of that. I want to give y'all this last commercial here. And then when we come back, we're going to have our drawing for this week's winner. So after this commercial, be ready. The drawing will happen. Shamu's going to take us through the drawing. So one commercial, then the drawing. We'll be right back. Everybody, we are back. It is time for the drawing. I know y'all saw that commercial. I always play it because I really am proud of that first book. It did amazing because of y'all. And I can't tell you enough how appreciative I am of everybody that came up to me and got autographs, and we talked and people gave me their insights to the book. I appreciate you all. But now it's time for our winner of this week. If you have, I give you 30 seconds. Did you put education in the comments? Okay, 30 seconds up. That was quick. Shamu, if you do the honors, give us the drum roll and the drawing will commence. Let's see. Nope, I can't win, so you got to do it again. Can't tell what's going on. Oh, there we have a winner. Miss Green Golden, the queen. You have won this week's drawing. I will see you next week when you say I am here, and we will make sure you get your $25 gift card. Again, everybody, this is something that we're doing. It's not, we want to show appreciation for people taking the time out to be here on these shows. And just definitely, this is one of those things that I definitely, felt strongly about. And, me and the team at Time to Talk and Knowledge and Nonsense said, hey, let's give back something every week. And this was one of those things that we think that, it shows value in you being here. And you could say $25 is not a lot, but you remember last year when we were going through this, you know how the price of eggs was? It was probably $25 a carton. So like, we just want to make sure that, people understand and, know that we appreciate you being here. So from Time to Talk, Harry, represent all of Southern California. I see you. For everybody here at Time to Talk, Knowledge and Nonsense, we thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you. We learn a lot from y'all contributions to these conversations, and we just want to make sure that we know, that we know. We appreciate you all. Thank you. As always, Time to Talk next week, same time, different guests, but the energy will be the same. Shamu, thank you. I can tell people Shamu was very nervous, but yourself, she knocked it out the park. She did it, and we appreciate you. Thank you for coming. Hey, family, it's been Time to Talk. I'll see y'all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.